little late, but better late than never, right? So here we are. If you're rewatching this, I suggest you jump forward a couple of minutes. All right, it looks like we're live again. We reconnected. Having some technical difficulties, I guess. Welcome in, welcome in. What's up, Formula Gaming? How you doing this evening? I remember you. You're like in a lot of the lives lately. I appreciate you tapping in. How you doing? Oh, it's morning. Well, good morning. Good morning. How's everything going? Everything good? That's good to hear. Definitely. Definitely. Want to see everybody doing well, thriving for that matter, you know? Appreciate that. Yeah, it is. It's about 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time where I'm at. I'm in Southern California. Nitro Bob, what is up, my friend? So, I probably could have picked up a shift tonight, but I just didn't. I'm the lead guy in the yard where I work, and I've been the lead guy for probably about 4 years now, 3 years, somewhere around there. And so the regular supervisor wasn't in, and it's good to see you too as well, Nitro Bob. I'm glad you tapped in. And so there was a new supervisor, like new to the company supervisor's been there like maybe a month, and today's been pretty good actually. So you know, like our shift, like we do really well. Like we're one of the better shifts there from what everybody says. And looking at numbers, it seems to reflect as such. And, you know, and the supervisors calling me, and then there was a day supervisor that stayed over, and like they're just annoying the hell out of me last night. Because I already know what to do. You know what I mean? It's not an ego thing or anything like that. Like, oh, well, you know, you shall respect my authority. Now, it's none of that shit. Like, I just want to see our shift succeed. And I know what to do to make our shift succeed as far as cutting staffing and doing the things that need to be done at the appropriate times. And like these guys, they kept calling, and like I'm like, okay, well, we're ready to, we're gonna cut a driver. It's like 11 p.m. We're there until 3, and it was slow, and everything is number driven. You know, everybody has an A number that they punch into the computer, and it tracks your you know, your progress, I guess you would say. You know, tells you what your productivity is, more like what I'm trying to say. Um, why is that, Formula Gaming? So when we're not getting, each driver's required to do 6 moves an hour, and when we don't have the volume for that, we'll cut a driver. Really, Formula Gaming? I'm really sorry to hear that, bro. I mean, hopefully they caught it early, and you know, the treatment, there's good treatment out there for it. So what's up? What's up, Bigfoot? How you doing? What's up, Reaper? That's not funny, Formula Gaming. That is not funny at all, bro. But yeah, Bigfoot, Reaper, I hope you guys are doing well this evening, or morning, or late night, depending on where you're at. But yeah, so I was a little bit annoyed with management yesterday we still managed to do a good job, but you know, it's just you would think being able to cut staff would be easy because it saves the company money, but even that was like pulling teeth. So yeah, I had the mindset if they called me today, wasn't going down. I wouldn't be there. I work for a trucking company, Lewis, that does. We do yard moves for a major big box retailer. Yeah, it's been a while, huh? Big foot, big football. Uh, I can't complain about my life, man. My life is good, you know. It could always be better. I could have a bigger house with a swimming pool in the backyard. You know what I mean? A newer car. I am a truck driver, Lewis. But, you know, the things that I do have are just what I need, you know? And what I mean by that is, you know, I could probably have more, but at what sacrifice, you know? So, had I not been an addict early in life, I would be several more steps ahead of, than where I am now, you know? So, I started late trying to build my empire, if you would, you know what I mean? What do I think about India? I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on India. I think the people in India are good people. Yeah, and not having cancer from cigarettes kind of rocks, right? Uh, Wisdom Runner says India is a good country. Yeah, and honestly, I think you know, not necessarily speaking on India, but like some of the stuff going on in the Middle East, it's not the people of the countries that are at odds; it's the governments, and unfortunately, the people have to pay for it. You know, so but you know, I think there's good people everywhere. You know, and then there's bad people everywhere as well. You know, so uh, yeah, you know, it's excuse me for just a second, guys. Sorry about that. I thought the dog was getting into something out just outside, but that's not what it was. North Korea, same. I'd say the same thing. The people there are great. Maybe the government. I don't know. Who am I to judge? I have a uh, Australian healer, also known as a Texas healer. So do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button while you're in here, if you would. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out my playlist. I have a ton of videos up on all kinds of different stuff. My most recent one uh, is what's up, Ronak? Jesus has a relationship with me. Um, my most recent video is on sober living shenanigans. It's called Everybody in the Sober Living Got a Parole Violation. And yeah, it's one of those things, you know. I always talk about finding a sponsor and stuff like that. But, you know, there's landmines along the way sometimes. And sometimes you may get yourself into a sober living to live around sober individuals, and maybe everybody isn't sober in those places, or maybe the guy that runs the place is a friggin' weirdo. You know what I mean? uh are you two dating, if I may ask? What, I don't know who you're talking to. So yeah, shout out to Monk McCool who kind of gave me the idea. Um, so yeah, that's my most recent video up. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's like 18 minutes long or something. It's not too long. I don't like to make real long videos because you know, I tend to get off track sometimes. And I know when I'm watching YouTube videos on certain subjects, I hate it when people are all over the place. So I do my best to stay on track, but it don't always work. I'm telling my story and I'm like, ooh, a butterfly. Ever rode the train? I've you mean like a Amtrak or something? I've done Metrolink to like LA and stuff like that, but never a long distance one. Rated and I were talking and Lewis asked this dating question. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. But
make sure they don't show me, okay?
Okay, you're up. So what's everybody up to this fine evening, morning, whatever it is where you are? Uh-oh. Left some tin foil on the burrito in the microwave. Oh man. That's not good. That's not good at all. I remember one time we thought we were doing a fire drill at work, and it turned out somebody left a wrapped burrito, with the tin foil on it in and put it on for like 20 minutes. I think dude was baked. So, yeah. Interesting. Took like 2 hours for them to clear it after the fire department came and everybody else. And then once they did clear it, then they wanted all their trailers to the door like right now, Hey, my first time I've seen the damn tinfoil on the microwave, I got scared. I bet, bro. Oh, man. What'd you get stitches for, Formula Gaming? That's not good. So, yeah, the most recent video was on the whole house getting a parole violation from the sober living. I got more stories like that. So, like, if people like those, be sure to comment and I'll keep them coming. But, yeah, I guess they're starting to lift some of the lockdowns in CDCR right now. Some of the level 3s are coming off modified program, as they like to call it, but they're lockdowns, And I guess there's hunger strikes going on again. So since I tried to stop smoking, I haven't had appetite like food. Don't even look. Oh, really? Wow. A lot of people quit smoking and they substitute eating for it and end up gaining a bunch of weight, Man, that's a trip, though. It definitely would change up the taste buds, I would imagine, after all the nicotine and everything. But where's Emmanuel at tonight? The weed makes you, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the weed definitely makes you hungry. Definitely. So what do you guys think about? I heard they're putting up like barricades around the White House and the Treasury. What's up, Shogun? How you doing tonight? I'm in California, SoCal. Salvia, you ever done that? No, I haven't. I don't know what that is. Omaha, Nebraska. Shout out to Omaha. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I don't know what that is, Dylan. Oh, really? Yeah, no, I haven't. 1:20 a.m. Yeah, so figured I'd get on, see what everybody's up to this evening. I guess Big E ain't in the house tonight. That's weird. You out there, Joel? Yeah. So I'm all right. Yeah, I am. Okay. That's good, Nitro Bob. Been working out. That's good stuff. What's up, Tim? How you doing tonight? Everything is well over here, brother. Hope you're well also. Yeah, we went we they have this thing where you can like rent out a pool in somebody's rent out their backyard basically and take advantage of the pool. And so we went and did that with the family today. That was cool. I'm not a swimmer, but you know, the wifey and my son are big swimmers. So they were doing their thing, and I was kind of over there kicking my feet around in the water. But yeah, that's what we did today. Took care of that. Went and got a few groceries for the week, and to have my foot fused snowboard injury. Ooh. Well, I'll keep you in my prayers, Tim. I hope that things go well. You know. Nah, I don't drink. Yeah, this channel's about sobriety. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I just smoke my cigarette, and that's about it. Yeah, I hope. Hey, what's up, G? How you doing, brother? Cuba Leones. I hope you're doing well. Imagine it's hot out there where you're at right now, huh? hell, it's hot over here. We got fires burning and shit, you know? Do I collect anything? Like when I was a kid, I collected sports cards and stuff. Now I'm just out here for the recording purposes, you know? Um, but yeah, like as far as collecting stuff now, no, not really. I do still have interest in sports cards, but they've gotten so damn expensive that yeah, 49ers stuff. I have a collection of hats and jerseys and stuff like that. That stuff's cool. What's up, Tropic of Neptune? How you doing tonight? You try to stay cool out there, G.
You want more coffee, baby?
Yeah, maybe a top off. Thank you. Here I am. There you are. Oh man. Tim says I collect rugby jerseys. Nice. Yeah, I would say. I'm trying to think which jersey is my favorite. Dylan says it's been hot here in Kentucky and overwhelmed and upset about it. Yeah, I noticed there was like a hell of a heat wave on the Midwest and East Coast, you know? G says I collect felonies. That's what's up. S-Soul, homie. I had a felony collection going there for a while, but I had to put that on the back burner, homie. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to rent somebody's pool out. I'm trying to have a pool at my pad. You know what I mean? Maybe maybe if I can get the credit a little better, or those super lotto numbers come in. You know. Thank you, babe.
You want your slippers?
Yes.
Okay, these are slippers now. All right, come back to those right now.
All right. Yeah, I know that heat in the Midwest hits different though. You know what I mean? Like I was in Tennessee, and when I first started trucking, Nashville to be exact. Damn, Tim says it's -2 right now in New Zealand. Wow, that's brutal. We had one of those. It was all right. The pools are just really hard to maintain, to be honest with you. You know, and they're expensive to maintain as well. But
Hey, stay out of the pool.
but they're definitely fun. It sounds like Stormy's out there jumping in the pool right now.
I'll take these.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But yeah, they're cool, definitely. Like I said, I'm not much of a swimmer, but I'll stick my floaties on and float on through there.
Hey, but your wife's a fish.
Yes. Yeah, my wife and my son though, man, they could live in that pool. Dylan says we've been getting a lot of rain too. Yeah, okay, so I was talking about when I was in Nashville and the difference in the heat. Because like in Cali, like I think it was mid-90s today here. Like on a hot day, we might see 110, maybe 115. And so, you know, I was out there. This was like 2010, 11 maybe. And they were under a heat advisory. And I'm looking at the weather on my phone. And it's like 91 degrees. And I'm thinking 91 degrees ain't hot. I mean, it's hot, but, you know. But, you know, and so we ended up walking to the truck stop down the way. We were at Western Express Terminal in Nashville. And, you know, we walked down there, and man, that heat hits different with that humidity. Like 91 is like 115 here. Like it was, I could not believe it, you know? Could not believe it. It was miserable. But yeah, so it's different, you know? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, Nitro Bob. So yeah, I think I'll probably be dropping another video in the next day or two. Yeah, I mean, like I did so many videos so quickly on this channel that like it's hard to come up with new topics. Here in Western Kentucky during the summer, it was nothing but a drought. Oh, okay. I can handle the dry heat, but that humidity, heat. Oh, it's totally different, G. Totally different, you know? Dogs are barking. Should you make sure there's not any? No, that's the dog next door. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nitro Bob, like with that humidity. Oh my God. I don't know how people live there. It's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there, type of thing. You know what I mean? With that humidity, oh man, it's horrible. Would you ever do shrooms if you had some, or would you consider that a drug? No, I wouldn't. No, I didn't. Even when I was in my addiction, I didn't do anything like that. I remember one time, because I was a drug dealer, and somebody hit me up for some acid, some tabs of acid, and that shit scared me. I mean, I know meth is a hallucinogen, whatever, however you say that word, but yeah, somebody hit me up for a couple of tabs of acid, and of course I knew where to get it. You know what I mean? Because that was my job, supplying the general public with their recreational needs. So the homie said, "Yeah, I got those tabs for you," and I opened up a book, and I said, "Put them in there," and then I closed the book. I didn't touch it. You know what I mean? I didn't want nothing to do with that stuff, because I've seen people just freak out on that stuff, and like I was already paranoid enough and that type of stuff. You know, I thought the feds were after me. At one point, they tried to get me. And it wasn't anything I even did. Well, you know, I'm big on accountability, right? I'll tell you guys a story real quick. So I was delivering to a guy down in Anaheim, which is in Orange County. Anaheim is known for Disneyland, but there's another side of Anaheim where, you know, there's a lot of crime and a lot of drug use and stuff like that. And so I almost got tangled up with the feds. I had, the way I did it, I had runners, basically, people that would sell the product for me. That way, because I didn't like the nickel and dime. I didn't like to be the retail guy, if you will. You know, I didn't want a lot of traffic. I didn't want people to know who I was. There were like maybe 5 or 6 people that knew, you know, that I was the plug or the connect or whatever you want to call it. And you know, I'm not saying I was big time or anything like that, but in my mind I was. So I had a guy in West Anaheim, and I had another guy in the middle of Anaheim, and then another guy on the east end of Anaheim. And then I had a guy in Long Beach, and I had a guy in Rancho Cucamonga that all sold for me. Well, the guy in central Anaheim, Chris, was his name, or is his name? I don't know. His name was Chris. I don't know what Chris is up to these days. I don't. I'm getting off topic here. So I would drop off a half ounce with Chris maybe 2 or 3 times a week, like clockwork. You know what I mean? Like drop it off, day after tomorrow he's calling, type of thing. So I stopped by. He was staying in these. It was like a motel, but it was long, extended stay motel, right? I think it was called the Lincoln Inn. And they're like apartments, basically, but it's a motel, like, if that makes sense. But so I go in, I drop off what I drop off, I get my money, and I start driving away. And, you know, I get a mile or 2 up the road, and dude's calling me. And I'm like, what's this guy complaining about now? Like, he wasn't one of my top sales. He wasn't in the running for salesman of the year type of guy. Like, he was just another guy. And so he calls me up. Like, I've been gone 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And, we didn't talk on the phone. Like, there were coded messages basically that we would use. And he calls me up. He says, hey, Bobby, he said, you got any more of that speed? I need another half ounce. And, this cell phones were relatively new at the time. I'm like thinking to myself, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, we don't talk like that. And then like the light came on over my head and I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me call you back when I get to a landline. And I hung up the phone. Well, there was another guy that happened to be in the vicinity of where he was staying down on that hallway there, who was, he went by Bird, right? He was part of the bigger house in West Anaheim. And he just happened to be over there. And he's calling me. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on over there today? So I answer the phone. What's up, Bird? He says, hey, Bobby, the DEA just kicked in Chris's door. And I'm like, this motherfucker. This dude just tried to roll on me. You know what I mean? Apparently they found one of those pew-pews. Well, they didn't find it. They knew of it. Somebody had snitched on him, and he tried to, in turn, snitch on me. And nothing developed from it. I guess I handled that call correctly. And, I almost got caught up with the feds on that one. So thank God I didn't. But I would go on to do plenty of time on my own. I can do bad all on my own. You know what I mean? Nothing illegal about what? I did my best, Vincent. The biggest I ever sold, I was pretty small time. I was probably moving about a half a pound a week of crystal, and maybe a quarter pound in one shot. Like I kind of knew my lane, and when people would request really large amounts and it didn't make sense, like I tell them, no, I can't handle that. For a couple of reasons. Because one, I don't know if you're trying to set me up with law enforcement or if you're trying to set me up to rob me. But either way, I wasn't really interested. You know what I mean? Like if all of a sudden you jump out of your lane of what's normal to me, then I ain't messing with it, He did his best, Lewis. As long as my Vincent, you asked the question, did you kill him? If I did kill him, do you think I would tell you about that on YouTube? I'm not a killer, bro. I did time for my original controlling case was possession for sales. They caught me with 56 grams in LA County. Then violation after violation, I had a false pretenses to obtain cash in San Bernardino County. That was an empty envelope deposit racket that I was doing on the banks. So yeah. But yeah, I would say at my peak or at my worst, depending on how you see it, I was on probation in 3 counties at the same time: Riverside, Los Angeles, and San Bernardino. So every time I would catch a probation violation in 1 county, it became a probation violation in 3 counties. And shit got old real quick. You know what I mean? But when they finally sent me to prison, I was in LA County, and the public defender came back he said, hey, you know, I can probably get you a county lid. A county lid is 1 year in the county jail. That at the time, that was the most amount of time you could do in the county once you're sentenced. And you know, I'm thinking to myself, hell no, I don't want a county. I said, what about prison? Because I got 3 probation officers and I can't keep up with it all. You know what I mean? I get out, I try to do good, and trying to get a temp job because I'm a convicted felon, and then needing to go have a monthly visit with 3 probation officers so I could give them a urine test in 3 different counties was just way too much. So I told him, I said, I don't want no more county time. I want you to send me to prison, and I want 1 parole officer so I have a fighting chance at getting off parole, you know? And he looked at me like I was crazy, and he's like, are you sure about that? And I said, yes, get me the best deal you can get me. And he came back, he said 2 years, and I said, run it. And yeah, that next couple of years was wild, but I got through it. You know what I mean? Lewis says, how many times you killed him? Yeah, I killed Chris, and then I revived him, and then I killed him again. It was like 14 times in total. Really, bro? Really? You know, I think the problem with this younger generation and with social media is people, scariest part of prison, the fear of the unknown, in my opinion. You know, at that time, there were, the best part of prison was making parole. If I'm being honest, you know, what I mean by the fear of the unknown is at that time, there were racial wars going on between the different groups. And, you know, you could easily be involved in a 200-man riot on a yard, and that's crazy. Now, I mean, Tropic of Neptune, you know, if people are getting that in prison, it's because they want that. But that was frowned upon by the general population, convicts. You know, if people knew you were doing stuff like that, like you would get run off the yard, basically, in a very violent way. Yeah, I don't know how it is now. I think things have changed quite a bit, but back then, yeah, things were very segregated. You know, you couldn't intermingle with certain people. I mean, you know, you could say good morning, stuff like that, like pleasantries in passing, basically, but like you couldn't go play cards or make a spread with some of the other races, you know? And if you did, chances are you were going to get run off the yard in a violent way, like I said. So, anyways, do me a favor, guys, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe. We're at about 2,900 subs now, hoping to get to 3,000 by the end of July. We'll see. And check out my playlist. I got them broken into categories. So, you know, if you're into the recovery thing, I got videos on recovery. I try to put a short out 3 or 4 times a week, something motivational in as far as recovery goes, some food for thought type of stuff, and just educational stuff as far as if, you know, you're thinking about getting into recovery, kind of give you a roadmap as to what to expect and, you know, what it's going to be like. I mean, everybody's experience is different, but, you know, and prison is weird. I agree. So I think we'll probably go like another 10 or 15 minutes and then we'll call it a night. Maybe I'll get on again. Best prison food. I have been to prison, federal. Best prison food was SOS, in my opinion, on the breakfast tray. The biscuits and gravy type of thing was bomb. On Sundays, they would do the Grand Slam with the eggs and the sausage patty, you know what I mean? Fero, you got to be a little bit more original, bro. Come on now. Russian prisons and even jails, sometimes the prison guards, police rape. Yeah. And I think that as far as prisoner rights go in America, they're really good for the most part. You know, what Tropics of Neptune, what TV show shows prison most accurate? I don't know about TV shows, but there was a movie. There's a movie, I believe it's called Felon. And some of the scenes, like on the rec yard and in the ad seg, with it's based on the white guys, the woodpile, and the big organization that runs the woodpile. That was pretty damn accurate, in my opinion. You know. Yeah, I think that as far as prisons go, we have gang issues. Yeah, you know, we have gang issues, but as far as like civil rights go and stuff, I think we have it pretty good as far as that goes for the most part. Now, there's always stuff that could be better. But in comparison to like the El Salvador prison, like that's a rough place. Prison in Mexico, Russia, places like that, like those, you don't have to just worry about your fellow inmates. You got to worry about the guards in the system, you know? I mean, in California, when I was doing time, everything was gang related. So, and then there was corruption with the guards as well, you know, like, and I'm sure there still is. But like in Corcoran Shoe, they were doing the gladiator fights where they would get different gang leaders out and let them go at it. And then whoever won the fight basically got shot, which is crazy. You know what I mean? So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you were in that Corcoran Shoe participating in those gladiator fights. And the thing about that is, from all accounts I've heard, you know, they'd come and say, hey, you want to come out to yard? Now, if you were active, active general population, like that's not a question of do you want to come out to yard? You're a coward if you don't want to come out to yard. So yes, so when they say turn your lights on if you want to come out, you turn your light on. And honestly, I think some guys were probably hoping that they weren't going to let them out because they knew that they were going out there to fight for their life. And like I've heard stories where people would position themselves to where the gunner was behind the other guy. You know what I mean? Because you start winning that fight and they take the shot and you're the one on top swinging down. Like they'll just take a headshot on you and you won the fight, but you lost the war. You know what I mean? Like it is bullshit. And I think there were federal indictments that came down on the guards on that. But yeah, I definitely don't miss doing time. I mean, at one point I think I got pretty good at it, but you know, it's the time that you spend in prison and jail, like you don't ever get that time back. Like I didn't truly start my life until I was like in my mid-30s. And you know, the work ethic that I have and everything, and my drive to have a better life for me and my family, You know, I got started almost 15 years too late. You know, so I mean, had I started earlier, who knows how much further in life I would be. But you know, that's why we got to make wise decisions in life. You know, because you know, I'm telling you, these prison yards are full of people that would swap places with you in a heartbeat. You know, just to be out and be free. But some people will never get that opportunity. You know, because of decisions they made when they were young, trying to impress their homeboys or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but and the funny thing is, once you end up in prison, like like I had dudes, they'd be like, Bobby, I would take a bullet for you. Never wrote a letter, never put no money on the books, but you would die for me. Yeah, and there are innocent people that sit in prison. I agree. You know, but that's the thing for the youngsters that may be watching. You know, stop trying to impress your homeboys and try to impress your family. Because once you get locked up and you got 10 years, 20 years life, all your homeboys are going to forget about you. All the females will forget about you. You know, luckily mine stayed along, but I didn't have that much time, you know? But, you know, who will not forget about you is your family. So, you know, take advantage of that. What's up, Top G Empire? Hope you're doing well. Says realest shit I heard today. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean it's the truth, and people, you know, for the youngsters, I think they need to hear that. That you know, like I said, like I had my little empire, if you will, in Orange County and Long Beach, Rancho Cucamonga. All these dudes that were making thousands of dollars a week. You know, and like nobody could drop a dub on the books. You don't need to come visit, you know what I mean? Like just go make a damn money order. You know, but as soon as Bobby was gone, they found new connections and they kept pushing. Which, to be honest with you, I probably would have done the same at that time. You know? I mean, it is what it is. It's the way the world is, and you know, just be careful of who you're trying to impress. That's all I'm saying. Because you know, they're only impressed when you got money and you can do something for them. Once you're locked away behind that wall and you are no longer valuable, it's all over. You know what I mean? You are easily forgotten. So, is it bad idea if I go to prison to experiment with like? Yeah, that's a horrible idea. Why would you want to do that in prison? You can do that in the free world. You know, I mean, I don't know. To each their own. You know. Did you ever hurt somebody? I hurt a lot of people. Not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically. You know, like I used to always justify dealing drugs. Did you know if little Jimmy down the street didn't buy it from me, he'd buy it from somebody else. Well, little Jimmy should have bought it from somebody else because once I had time to sit down uh, and think about some things, you know, I hurt the individual I was selling it to, and yeah, they probably would have went and got it somewhere else if they didn't get it from me. But not only did I hurt them, what about their mom and dad, their wife, their husband, their sisters, brothers, kids? Like, it's not a victimless crime. And I'll argue that to the end. It's really not. Because, you know, who wants to see their kid or their wife or their dad or uncle or whoever strung out on dope? Nobody wants to see that shit, you know? So, yeah, I hurt a lot of people in that way. And yes, when I was in prison, I physically assaulted some folks. But you know, I mean, to be honest with you, when you're locked up, it's a different world in there. And the only language that's really understood is violence. You know, um, you can't turn the other cheek. You can't uh, rationalize the situation. If somebody disrespects you, you do what needs to be done, and that's the bottom line. Because Broken Bobby says so. My rock reference. I can't do the eyebrow, but there it is. No, not like sexual, no. Like I said, in there, the only language that's understood is violence. So if the big homie comes and gets at you and says, hey, you're fucking up, little homie, knock it off, and then you go and you fuck up again, then the big homie's gonna send a couple hitters to knock some sense into you. If you're lucky, you know what I mean? If you're on a level 4 yard, then they may come and poke some holes in you because you're a program failure, or depending on what group you run with and the verbiage is used. Did I ever get hurt? I took some lumps and I took some L's. You know what I mean? I didn't win all the fights. And in some of the riots, I got my respect, but I got some lumps. You know what I mean? So, it's a very violent culture in there. So, they say it's a microcosm of society, but it's a microcosm of society that is ruled with an iron fist. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of warnings that are given. There's not a lot of counseling that's given. What the thing that shocked you the most there? I walked into a riot my first day on a prison yard. That was shocking. I seen a young Hispanic kid get stabbed like 40 times because somebody called him out of his name and he didn't do anything about it. So there's incredible peer pressure as well. Like I said, violence is the universal language. And if you let somebody slight you or disrespect you and you don't do anything about it, then your people will do something to you. You know what I mean? That's the reality of prison. So did he survive? I do not know. There was a lot of blood, and he was taken out on a stretcher, and I do believe he was taken on a helicopter, which is never a good sign. You know what I mean? This happened in a dorm, and I was like 20 feet away. I had been in prison not long, a couple of months. Did you join the whites? I was a Peckerwood. Yeah, I ran with the whites. I wouldn't say I joined them, though. I mean, in California prison at that time, it wasn't really an option to join. Like you were going to run with your people, period. I mean, now there's exceptions. There's, I seen a black Southsider. I seen plenty of white Southsiders. You don't necessarily need to run with the color of your skin, but what you associate with. They give you protection. I wouldn't necessarily say they give you protection, but there's definitely safety in numbers. You know what I mean? And who do you do to stop being affiliated to them once you get out of? There wasn't really anything I had to do to stop being affiliated. I wasn't a prison gang member. That's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? This was from the early 90s to the mid 2000s, 92 to 04, 05, 06. But yeah, I never took it to that next level to where there's a difference. Prison gang members, that's a whole nother thing. That once you join them, it's said that that's like a lifetime commitment or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't one of them. I was more of a foot soldier, if you will. You know, um, and I wasn't like I said, I wasn't in there that long. I was in there like 2 years. But I think had I went in there with 10, I don't know, things may have been different. I'm not saying I would have became a prison gang member because that's not really something you choose. That's something they choose you, you know? Uh, the sexual stuff happened with people, that's frowned upon. That's highly frowned upon. As a Pecker Wood, a white guy, whatever you want to call it, that wasn't our get down. How are gay people treated in prison? A lot of times they get moved to the protective custody yards, especially if they're flamboyant, I guess you would say, I seen a black man come in when I was in reception, and he was flamboyantly gay. And he created some tension between the two black organizations that were in that dorm, and it actually led to a riot. I did a video on that. That's an older one, but if you look at my prison playlist, I'm sure you can find that one. Actually, Lewis, any gay prison gangs, there is one. It's a protective custody gang, and it's called the Gay Boy Gangsters, GBGs. And I don't have any experience being around those guys because I was general population. I never I never programmed on a yard where those guys were present. But from what I understand and from what I've seen on social media and such, it's like the gays got together and formed their own gang for protection, So, yeah, that's a real thing. Now, I don't know if there's any other ones. I couldn't tell you. But yeah, trust me, if you go to prison in California, there's a place for you, no matter what you are, or you know what I mean, what you identify as. Like there's definitely a place for you. General population is, it used to be California prisons were like 90% general population, and then 10%. They call them SNY yards, sensitive needs yards, or protective custody. And very few people were on those yards back in like the 90s. Like I think Tehachapi had a PC yard, and I'm not sure. There was like 2 or 3. I remember because when you're in reception, you'll talk to your counselor. They'll tell you, okay, you've been classified to go to this prison. And they'll tell you like 2 prisons that you may go to. So I was a first termer, so I went back to the homeboys and I said, hey, they classified me for here and here. What do you guys know about these places? They put me in with Latinos for a minute. Okay. Yeah, but so they'll classify you to transfer to one of 2 places. And then you go to your homeboys, and this was 2004, late in 2004, and the SNY yards were starting to grow. And as a general population inmate, there's certain yards we can't program on because they're considered no good. So if you got endorsed, that was the word I'm looking for. If you got endorsed to like, say they were sending me to Tehachapi, let's use that as an example. That was a yard that was no good. then the homeboys will let you know, hey, if you land on a yard, as an example, then you got to get off. And what that means is, like, the first time you make it out to yard, you got to attack somebody and get removed from that yard. Because if you stay there, then basically you are what the population is. And if the population is PC, then now you've become PC. So you might think it's all fun and games, and then they send you back to another mainline. And first thing people are going to say is, hey, where'd you just come from? Oh, I came from Tehachapi A yard. Oh, is that right, homeboy? Okay, cool. Then the next yard, they jump on your ass. Because you chose to program with PC inmates. So, I mean, that's how it was then. Now, hell, the majority of California has become PC. So, you know, it used to be honorable to ride your beef when you got busted on shit. Nowadays, PC is protective custody, Lewis. Yeah, it's protective custody. And basically, because a lot of inmates that have gone over there, they told on people, or they have those funny charges that are not acceptable in on a mainline prison. You know, like an example, like charges involving children or abusing women, stuff like that. You know, like I have to watch how I word things carefully because YouTube don't like certain R words, rhymes with grape. You know what I mean? Or you know, people that mess with children, stuff like that. So those people are on those yards. And if you choose to program around those people, then you're no better than they are in the eyes of the general population. So I hope that answered your question. Yeah, that's basically what I'm talking about. Let's see. Yeah, we're holding the charge all right. So what do you guys think? You want to go for a little bit longer, or should we wrap it up? But you know, the thing is, the majority of the inmates in California had some sort of substance abuse or alcohol issue at one time or another. And a lot of people, when I was doing time, they said about 3/4 of the people had some sort of drug related charge, whether it was getting caught with drugs or being under the influence of something when they committed the crime. So that's why sobriety is so important, to keep people out of places like this, because prison ain't the place to be, you know? And nowadays, from what I understand, would I do it all again if you could go back in time? That's a great question, Tropic and Neptune. I think the person I am is based on my history, right? I mean, if I could, you know, I'd be so much different if I didn't live the life that I lived. But you know, I wouldn't want to do it again. Definitely not. But who would I be if I hadn't lived the life I lived, you know? So I definitely wouldn't want to do it again, though. No. And especially now at my age, you know, like, I'm not jaywalking. I don't want no contact with the law at all if I can help it. Yeah. And that's the way I grew up. You know, I don't really like the term product of your environment, because I had choices. I just made the wrong ones. You know, you know, I mean, there's also people that came out of that same neighborhood that went on to be lawyers and firefighters and police officers and shit like that. You know what I mean? So I can't blame it on my environment, but I seen that the people that were selling the drugs were the ones that had all the stuff that I wanted. So I made a choice, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I don't blame it on my environment. I blame it on my poor choices. And the thing is, I had some good role models, you know. But I just chose not. You know, I wanted the easy money. I wanted the fast life. If you guys are new, be sure to subscribe. Hit that like button for me if you would. Are a product of our environment. It's not possible to live in a society and not have some stuff rub off on you. I agree. I agree. I mean, it makes it a lot easier to make those choices, right? But I would say at the same time, though, you know, there's people that came out of that environment and thrived in a positive way. You know what I mean? Now, were they taught better growing up? You know, my dad was a hustler. Rest in peace, Dad. Yeah, he was a hustler. He had been to prison when I was young. And to be honest with you, I thought it was a coming of age to go to prison. Like I feel like until I hit that prison yard, I was not going to stop. As sick as that sounds, you know what I mean? I'm a truck driver, Tropic of Neptune. You know what I wanted to be was an attorney, but you know, it turned out I had to use attorneys more than anything else. So, all right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap up for the night. I'm pretty sure I'll be on again tomorrow night, probably a little bit earlier, probably around 8 Pacific time. So be on the lookout for that. That's California time. If you don't know, I appreciate those of you that participated tonight. We didn't have a whole lot of people in here, but that's okay. I appreciate everybody that participated, and you know, have a good one, Lewis. Tropic of Nature, or of Neptune. I'm sorry. I appreciate you as well, and everyone else that participated. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and don't look at the mountain. Just start climbing. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. If I can make it stop.